Hello, welcome to today's podcast episode for the Women Thrive platform. I'm so excited to have you here and also to be hosting one of our special guests on today's podcast. So today we have females communication strategist and coach, Ms. Jan Daudi. Hello, Jan, how are you?
Hi there, very well, thank you. Calling in from UAE, Dubai region.
Amazing. Well, really good to have you on our podcast. I'm very excited about today's episode because I know we will be talking about how communication can really impact your business. And I know you have some interesting insights to share with our ladies in how just working on your strategy could really improve your business and make a huge shift in what it is that you do. So, Jan, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners today.
Perfect. Well, I'm Jan. I do communications coaching for women currently globally. I started off my journey in communications as an actress in London. I became certified. I pivoted to doing psychological sciences, which allowed me to take a deep dive into the development of communications, how we are even born and raised with certain tactics and conditioning in communication. And that was fascinating. So mindset work is really important to me. And that's really relevant for confidence and all of those things that hold us back. I went on to do over 20 years of English language teaching globally, worked for government projects with migrant women, the most vulnerable sort of spaces where women were really deprived of progress because they simply didn't know language skills on that level. I've worked with C-suite leaders as well, business owners who want to reach that next level. They're competent, they're achieving a lot, but something is not quite getting them to that goal or vision. So I've had a sponsorship recently with the Leadership Conference in Africa, where I was presented as one of the top 100 women making global impact. I was a corporate sponsor for that event. The ladies that involved in that conference have gone on to do global positioning work with their communication skills, and that's been amazing to see their growth. Having said that, I was also certified by Cambridge University in communicating for impact and influence, and that specifically allows your message to make that wider reach where you change lives on a level that is not just local only. And for me, a woman showing up with her highest version of herself is really what I facilitate. So that allowed me to really know strategy on how to do that for leadership positions, entrepreneur women. That's my current sort of ideal client, you could say, who comes to me for that kind of vision. So at the moment, I'm doing a journalism master's degree, finishing that in the next few weeks. And hopefully, this is where we are with my communications. And it's been such an amazing journey, really.
Wow. I always love hearing, the journey that actually inspired you to do what you do today. So take us back a little bit and tell us what really inspired you to take this route?
Well, for myself, coming from a very diverse background, I'm mixed culturally. My heritage has been from all sorts of localities from my parenthood. And I ended up getting married in a very diverse sort of context. So my children are global citizens. I'm a global citizen. We travel the world. And I think my upbringing has made me understand that when you're living in so many different places, growing up in London, such a melting pot, you have to be able to adapt and make those connections in a way where your communications is going to really be relevant to the people around you. Some of the people I've lived with are refugees who have a very limited communication skills because they're new to the environment. Some of the people I've been surrounded with are sometimes hostile to your diversity or who you are. And you have to really be brave and bold in asserting yourself in those environments where people don't welcome you and don't want you there. There have been challenges as a female, as a woman, dealing with harassment and those things as you're an emerging female energy. And as a woman, I had to sort of grow into my beliefs as well. And having people accept the new forms of belief systems that I've embraced required an immense amount of negotiation. People that were resistant or perhaps not as supportive. All of those varying challenges and joys that came with engaging with people made me realize how much communications has helped me overcome and become a stronger, better, brighter person. And I've seen women around me, my friends or colleagues or even family members, who struggled or sunk under the pressure of harassment or getting that paycheck that they wanted, or even in relationships where they weren't being valued. They struggled with the key point of communicating. Yeah, they had money, they had position, they had great education, but they struggled with the communication of who they are, what they wanted. And I thought to myself, what a shame. What a shame, because it's so easily solvable. And my mission statement in life has been now, I don't want to see a woman in my sphere of operation sink in that manner anymore. I'll do whatever it takes to raise those women around me, to empower them with better communication skills so they live the highest version of life that they deserve. It's a human rights issue. You deserve to live with dignity and respect and be valued. And that for me is the origin of my journey, I suppose.
Wow, so inspiring. And I know you've been through a lot growing up in London, and you have experienced, even bullying and harassment yourself. So I'm sure that was not an easy journey, and you have had to learn how to use communications to stand up for yourself. Now, I know a lot of women also struggle with that part of owning their voice and being a voice, communicating what they want. And a lot of the times we shrink. So how can better communications actually empower a woman? And what would you say to someone who might be struggling to assert themselves and use their voice or their message to really make an impact in this world?
Well, it's interesting because the World Health Organization have done a study on, let's just look at harassment and the abuse dynamics that women face. 1 in 3 women globally face challenges. Just stop for a minute. I mean, I can't say that and just skip by it. Sort of 1 in 3 women globally. We're talking about millions and millions. And the sad part of that is the age group which is most affected in that study is the age between 15 and 25 years old. That is such a key point in your life when you're establishing your identity, when you're establishing your career, your visions of what's going to become next, often the most permanent part of your existence. So the things that affect you in that 15 to 20 year space, I've heard women tell me, I still haven't moved on. I'm still not able to process those things that held me back. And that's such a horrible crime, I think, a crime against somebody's full potential for that to happen to you. So I think in terms of owning your voice and having that position in the world that you deserve, that World Health Organization study gives a clear evidence that something is very wrong. We can't change everyone's response to us. You're not going to be able to say, I wish I changed that person's way of speaking or that is just not going to happen. But what can happen and what is empowering is not reliving the past. It's building your new future. And with communications, you can take your power back, literally, show up a different version of that person you were at that time and say, that was that, but this is now. I am no longer going to allow myself to accept things that I'm not comfortable with. If somebody's using sexist language, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to say, no, you can't refer to me as a female animal. I'm not an animal. I'm a human. I deserve the words and language that reflect my dignity and respect. I won't accept you using racial slurs around me, even if it's not directed at me. I will say, no, excuse me, that's disrespectful. You need to. And when you vocalize and speak up, the people who are doing the wrong things find it more difficult. And the people who are doing the right things are more empowered. It's simply a question of having the courage to draw the line and actually use your voice as a tool for change. You don't need an entire government sort of program to give you permission to speak and say, no, I don't accept that. That has been really, for me, a way of finding your voice.
Well, it's refreshing to hear that actually just by changing the way we communicate and the things that we can accept and we don't accept, and really standing for ourselves can make a huge difference. Because as you say, we can't change other people. We can't change the fact that there is still, racism in this world, but we can change the way we're responding. So that's more on the social level. But when it comes to business now, how would communications impact and help someone grow in business?
Well, there are global figures on this as well, which are quite fascinating. 47% of the global workforce are women. However, and this is the bit that is interesting, only like 24% occupy leadership positions or those higher levels of business. Less than 25% is 24%. That means like over 70, we're looking at such high numbers of people that don't have access to those high levels of influence and decision making. And that's a shame, because there's a clear discrepancy here. Women in business are actually 1.5% stronger than the men in terms of growth. And this is another interesting study in the USA, where the growth of female business is outstripping men's 1.5%. We are the growth gender. We are the ones redefining business economies, landscapes, ecologies in a very powerful manner. So our effort and our work and our presence is there, undeniably. The statistics show that. But somehow our actual positioning and our level of influence is held back. Even our pay, even what we're paid, is still less than men on so many levels. So that kind of balance needs to be looked at. How we communicate at the interview level, how we communicate in our recruitment, how we communicate in our demands for things when we're due for that raise or that extra positional sort of point in our career. Even in COVID, we've been held back because we were off work and at home. How we communicated our needs. I need assistance. I need more help. I've got kids. I've got, dependents. So many things can shift in your life if you're able to show up in those leadership positions and get what you really deserve.
Beautiful. I love that. And there can be so much more transformation that could happen because, there's a small percentage of women that take up those leadership positions. And like I said, with asserting ourselves and asking for what we want could really make a huge, huge difference. And
I can give you a quick story about that. Literally, of a lady that happened to, if you give me a chance there, sorry to interrupt. I have had a lady come into my program and she was in debt because she was running a very good architectural firm. And she was literally paying out of her pocket because she felt so shy in a male-dominated environment to assert her voice. And I said to her, you can't sustain that. You've just come out of an abusive relationship. You've got little kids. You're sinking and your company will go into liquidation. You've got to rescue yourself by how you speak. You've got to say and have the courage. The materials have changed price. You've got to communicate that. You can't pay out of your pocket. The workers are not showing up. You've got to recruit more people. It's going to cost more. You need to communicate the dynamics. At the end of her program with me, she closed her most highest sort of program, which was $45,000 deal. 2 days before I was talking to her, she closed her first $1 million deal. Even under the pressure of people wanting to compromise with her language and her position as a woman, she asserted herself. Her life is radically different because of communications. And she's leading in her field because of communication. Simply as that. That's the only thing that's changed.
Yeah, and that's what I say. This year is really about women rising and thriving and owning our power taking, the power that we actually have, well, for some reason, don't assert ourselves or ask for what we want. So I encourage you ladies to rise and thrive. Look at your communications. How do you show up in this world? How do you position yourself? What is the language that you're using? And I feel really encouraged by having this conversation with you, Jan, today. I know you have a talk coming up at the Women Thrive Summit this year. And I'm very excited about it because I know this will make a huge impact on the women attending our event. And I know you will be giving away some secrets there on how they can apply communications in their business in a practical way. So tell us a little bit more what you will be sharing during our talk and what is the title of your talk?
Well, first of all, Ramonda, just thank you so much for being such an inspirational leader yourself. You have been yourself given award nominations and positioned as a woman who's making real impact in the work that you're doing. And I'm just very privileged and sort of honored for you to have this platform and be part of it. Such an amazing bunch of women involved as well. For me, I intend to give a discussion on saying what you mean, meaning what you say without being mean. And that is essentially my business mantra. And what I really mean by that is when you say what you mean, you've got to be accurate in your content. Don't change language or use terms just to fit in or just be shrinking into the background. Say exactly what you mean and be accurate, because if it's the facts, it's the facts. How it's received after that, you can deal with that. So be accurate. Number two, mean what you say, be authentic. So many times we kind of don't show up as our true version of ourselves because we're worried about consequences. And that can be very stifling as a human being. It's not good for you, even your mental health, not to be authentic. So be that authentic person. And without being mean, we can be assertive. We can ask for what we want, and we can draw boundaries. We don't have to be overly masculine. We don't have to be really horrible and aggressive in the way we do that. We can be amicable. So being accurate, authentic, and amicable is really what I teach, in essence, getting those growth factors into your communication skills. And that is actually going to be the summary of my talk. Why that's really important and what we can do to achieve that.
Beautiful. I can't wait. I'm very excited about that. And I know it's going to be transforming people's lives. So if you haven't booked your ticket for the Women Thrive Summit, this might be your opportunity to do that right now. Every year, we host the Women Thrive Summit, which is our annual event to empower and support women in business and leadership positions. So I hope that this summit is going to impact not only just your life, but so many women around the globe. Every year, we host more than 30 amazing speakers, and Jan is one of our VIP experts for this upcoming summit. So do make sure you tune into her talk, because I know she'll also have a gift for our speaker, for our attendees, for our event. So Jan, what is your gift for those attending your talk?
Well, everybody who attends the Women Thrive Summit, they will have an exclusive access to a 45-minute assessment of their communication skills. And, we all go to the doctors to check our health. We all go to maybe improve our appearance with physical care. That's really, really great to do that. But it is interesting. Your communications can impact you more than that great suit that you're wearing or that great hair thing that you've done. You have to realize that how people perceive you and how people even remember you after your engagement is actually what often makes the most impact. The value you give to the world, how you've helped people in a way that was really understandable and made them feel different. Maya Angelou, she has a lovely quote where she talks about people will remember all of those things about how you look and the car, and they will remember how they felt after that engagement. And I think for us as women, we're nurturers. We often have people that are dependents. It doesn't have to be children. It could be partners. It could be community work. We're often positioned as the social crutch of the entire community. And when you own your communications in a way that can do so much good and be a guiding force for light and change, you really realize how the next generation can be a different generation. So I hope that that kind of impact on a generational level is really what I'm looking for women to do. The legacy. I really have a community here that I'm building, ladies with legacy.
That alone for me was just so impactful and so right, because we women a lot of the times hold our communities, hold our families. We are the backbone of our society. So being empowered and using our voice is what the Women Thrive Summit and the platform is really about. And I know you're so aligned to our values and what your impact, what you're looking to do is just phenomenal. And I'm just so proud to have you part of this summit and part of this event and part of our community as well. And yeah, I just love how you show up and support the women in their communication strategies. So thank you so much, Jan. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a privilege. And I never take any of these engagements for granted, Raimonda, because life is unpredictable. As we know, in the last 2 years, things have changed and shifted momentously beyond our imagination. Nobody would have thought we would have been living with the kind of restrictions and even physical distance. Communications has been impacted with so many virtual enforcements, and that real life engagement has often been lost. That community spirit has been impacted. Our relationships have sometimes been very challenged because violence, abuse, stress has gone up globally in all major household assessments. And that's because communication breakdowns and being able to cope with the circumstances we're in have been so challenging. And I think for us now, let's not just focus on the problem here. Let us look at solutions. I mean, I have actually a free guide, an ebook available for download for the top 7 communication mistakes you're most likely making right now. And I think that alone, an awareness, where am I going wrong? What are the things I need to be alert to? Let's do a little check of where can I get better? You can literally transform your life in a day by just understanding. I'm not going to do that anymore. If I've got a kid and I'm always raising my voice or using a tone, or if I'm not showing vulnerability and nobody feels that they can have a true connection and they're distant, those little shifts, as an example, which is discussed in the guide, can be so impactful in how they change your dynamics and create happiness out of what can often be chaos in some of these situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. And where could ladies actually download your free guide?
Well, I have a Facebook and an Instagram page. Those are my main platforms at the moment where you can get all of the details. And often just DM me as well, if you'd like to have some interesting conversations or get some more information on what I do. And all of those platforms are available for ladies now to download the guide.
What would be your Instagram handle?
Miss Community, Raimonda. Hopefully, the link in the podcast details there. But Miss Community is the Facebook and Instagram handle.
Yeah.
We're a team. We're a team, Raimonda, women's team. Globally is what we're aiming for here. And that is the official business name. So you can find me under that handle.
Amazing. Well, ladies, do make sure you do follow Jan Daudi across different social media channels. I know she'll be sharing lots of tips. If you would like to hear Jan's talk at the Women Thrive Summit, go over to womentthrivesummit.com. You will be able to access more than 30 amazing talks by our speakers this year, as well as be part of our networking and other panel discussions. It is about women rising and thriving. And I believe, as you say, we're a team. If we can come together to do this work and to make this progress in life, we can really go so much further. So I hope to see you all there. And thank you for all of you who are listening to this podcast today. And thanks to Jan, who delivered just phenomenal talk today. I appreciate you, Jan.
Thank you so much. I think one of the interesting things is to realize that when we talk about communications, I think perhaps the mind defaults to talking. discussion. But let's just make it clear for anyone thinking about, oh gosh, I never thought about checking my communications growth areas or even knowing your strong points. I think in my communications assessment, and that's why I highly encourage anybody who has access or an opportunity quite exclusively to get a conversation with me, because it's not everyone I can talk to, clearly, with my busy diary on a master's degree, 5 kids. I'm married, just moved house, normal women's things. I can only give out those strategy calls and assessments to those women that are serious and are able to book that through the Women and Thrive conference as my channel now. Those skills are not just verbal. We've got to email lots of people. Sometimes the email is the only means by which somebody has actually understood anything about you. We've got to do a lot of virtual presentations, Ramonda, and as an actress and now a trained journalist, the virtual presentation space can be a nightmare for people, honestly, because we're kind of all forced into this dynamic when we're kind of just used to the phone or, not having to show up with our full presence. And getting that right can change so many things about how your message is received. So, those things are now harassment or having those issues where you have crisis conversations or issues where you don't feel comfortable. There are so many levels, even social media, those trolls are handling those horrible entities that are so negative. So many levels of life where communications is needed to get yourself to the place where you want to be. And I would just highly encourage everyone to review that and take it seriously. Don't leave it, I'll do that later. Now, there might not be a later. My kid just literally came into school an hour ago, came in from school. A boy harassed her and actually physically injured her. Now, so many of young girls, she's only 8, would have kind of gone to the corner and cried and left it as it is. Now, the thing is with that, I teach my kids, you never, ever tolerate anyone violating you, not verbally, not physically, and especially not a boy or any male figure. I alert my kids to that communication empowerment. So she did actually, I did say to her, did you tell somebody about what happened? And she said, yes, Mummy, I did. I went straight to the teacher, and she knows the protocol. She's aware that I'm going to ask her. If anything happens, I'm going to ask her. And if she hasn't done it, I'm going to facilitate that it's done. Because what happens, Ramonda, even at that age, it can set up patterns of your value, your expectations, what you're going to allow to be tolerated later on in life as a teenager, as a woman. So she knows now, as a young girl, I cannot accept, as much as I'm crying or hurt or injured, I've got to show up and stand up for myself and speak, because I can then have a change that's in my favor. And that's how empowerment works, even at the most fundamental level, Ramonda.
That is so impactful. And I'm so glad you just shared this story, because it's important for us to understand just how impactful the right communication and approach to it can actually transform so many things. And you can feel empowered. And that's why I love just, having your voice on this platform, because I think it's really, really important that we not only empower women who are doing amazing things and are in leadership positions, but actually start to think about how we communicating impacts the world, trickling down to our children and, our communities and those we are looking to work with. Well, Jan, I look forward to hearing your voice on the Women Thrive Summit and look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you there. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.